Go live. We're now live, Chairman.
I'd like to thank everybody for attending the Management Committee meeting. I know we're on small numbers again, but make for what we make up in lack of quantity, we'll make up in quality, no doubt. So straight to the agenda. A lot of the meetings, obviously in COVID, have gone to part 2 because of the financial matters, but we're approaching the year end with these figures here. And I'd encourage anybody who's watching this live stream to tune into the main parish council meeting, because I have seen the figures that have come in for the year end from our excellent RFO, who is no doubt, if people have got an interest in how the year has turned out, I would probably divert them to the main parish council meeting rather than this one. But we will go through the business that's on the agenda. Apologies for absence, Julian. Have we anybody who's apologised?
We lost Julian.
Has he lost us? Can you hear us, Julian? Hello, Julian.
Sorry, Chair. I'm getting a feedback loop, which means that the YouTube feed is actually repeating on my system. So
My introduction to the meeting being played endlessly into the into the ether of space.
sorry, it's really distracting, is this, because I'm hearing everybody's speech is repeated sort of 10 seconds later.
Do you want to turn it off? And no one's speaking at the moment, Julian. Do you want to turn it off and try again?
I think if we proceed with the meeting, I'll keep my microphone on mute.
Okay, I'll try not to refer to you. I'm going to take it that we've got no apologies. Unless you stick.
Julian did say before he hadn't had any.
No, fine, we'll move on that basis then. I give the usual code of conduct and declarations for interest. I'm not aware of anybody, or no one's advised me, but if anything crops up, I'm sure that people will declare an interest at the appropriate time. Minutes of the meeting. To receive the minutes of the informal meeting held on the committee. I think this was again because we had problems with the YouTube feed. So is there anything in the minutes from March that people would want to comment on? I'll take them page by page. Page 3, page 4 and 5, page 6 and 7, page 8 and 9, where to stop, page 10 or 11, or page 12. There being no questions raised, is somebody happy to move them a true record? Councillor Ridden?
Yeah.
I'll second it for the benefit of making progress. Action list. The list is provided, I think, about page 12. Is there anything on there that people wish to comment on? I think we did a bit of pruning last time. Quite a few of these are showing as complete. Will come off next time. I think it's the ones at the front that have got the red stars on. We might want to just take a few moments to look at. Business plan is on the agenda because we've got some figures from Claire in part 2. I think a lot of the other things are just placed on hold, aren't they, Claire, until such time as financial trading position becomes more certain.
Yeah, the purchase of the dishwasher and stuff, obviously, once the centre makes some money for us to be able to cover that rather than taking it out of parish funds, we'll get that purchased. The exterior door, I'll make sure that's on an early management agenda, get that repair sorted.
Excellent.
But we're looking at probably May time now, I think, before preschool are off again, aren't we?
How do you mean? Sorry.
The next set of holidays is May usually for preschool.
Yeah, they're back in this week.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of having the door repair done when preschool are off.
Oh, when they're off, yeah, it's like what I'd call Whitsun.
Yeah.
It's a half-term holiday.
It's the end of May.
It's the old Whitsun. Yeah, 6 weeks usually from Easter to then. Yeah.
Yep.
So moving on, if everybody's happy, to item 5, which is Claire's part 1 report. Claire, would you like to talk to it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, council's aware we've not had the bar open, so we've not had any bar sales. Overall, that means that we have, on the whole of the financial year, we've only taken 12.3% of the budgeted income for the year. And due to obviously COVID lockdowns and whatever, we have underrun what we were expecting to take by £147,000. Well, £147,700. Plots are available obviously in the report, and I've put in the figures for 2021 in a table for you. Obviously, before putting this together, we'd made the decision not to open in April and only to open partway through May. So I've adjusted April and May for that, and then adjusted the other months accordingly. So if we continue on the roadmap out, we should hopefully start to see those figures come through, and hopefully towards the end of the financial year be in a more solid position than we are this year. Tea and coffee, again, due to lockdown, we haven't sold anything. We would have, last year we made £455 in March, so we've lost that income, and we lost approximately 4.8k of tea and coffee income on the financial year due to COVID. Room lettings were behind the original budget for the year by £50,500 due to various lockdowns and the reduction in what we could actually allow for room hire. And the £1,295,000. God Almighty, bear with me a second. £1,295 taken in March was about 23.8% of what we'd originally budgeted for March. Again, plots are provided and the targets for 21-22 are in place. With the April through September at the reduced room hires, and October through March at the higher expectation of room hire. although this month, in no small part, thanks to room hire from Councillor Matthews himself and his company, we are actually very close to the target for April, even though we haven't opened up for additional room hire like likes of yoga and stuff yet, and we aren't expecting to until the 17th of May.
Well, we were looking for somewhere to have a meeting. It just seemed the obvious thing to do. It's 550 quid, so it seemed a stupid idea not to, you know.
And in the meetings, we had all the COVID measures in place. So
No, it's fine. Everybody was very pleased with it. So I think, you know, Stantec would probably think about using it again. I think there's a marketing issue there that we do need to look out for those sorts of hires. I know we have had planning and stuff like that before, but when I looked at it from an academic point of view, we are quite competitive compared to some of the other places. We are, you know, the cheapest place I could have found, it was 140 a day in Birchwood, and it might look a bit swankier and it might look a bit more, you know, but it wouldn't have been as large for spreading out. You know, it was very much a smaller meeting room. So we are quite competitive for those sorts of things. It's worth thinking about.
yeah, I mean, one of the things obviously Paul and I were thinking about going forwards is making sure that each of the meeting rooms has a projector available. People these days, you know, particularly for training sessions or for company meetings, like a projector. So again,
it does need a bit of investment. It needs a bit of forethought. But the other thing it needs is some marketing, and we've got a Kickstart market post available. We've got two posts that are starting quite soon. I don't know if that's something that would suit the council, because you can get 6 months young person free of charge. You get a grant towards the training. I mean, we're gambling to an extent, but we thought nothing ventured, nothing lost. So we've got a graduate, a technical assistant post, and a graduate. That might be something, a sales post. So that might be something to think about for next year. But that's going to be the new committee's particular thing. I mean, I wanted to say a few things, but I will say them in part 2 about the business plan per se, because I think there needs to be a little bit of confidentiality. But Anne, do you have anything to add that you want to go through on those figures in part 1?
No, not really. I mean, they are what they are. I'm not, to say you're not happy with them would sound very, but you're going to have to work awfully hard, and you need somebody with some experience of it to get it to where it should or needs to be, because we've not gone forward in any way. We just, and I know COVID's been about, and I know I'm the pessimist, but realistically it needs an awful lot of, the centre needs a,
what I wanted to cover in part 2 was essentially that when we looked at what the options were, the very pessimistic option that the members of the committee put in was pretty much where we ended up.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go through my personal, not doom and gloom scenario, because this year will end better than last
it only
year.
Might.
No, it does if you adapt, and it does if you adapt. And if you feel that everything's going to go back just to normal, I fear for what the person sat in this chair's position will have to be dealing with next year, because it's going to be very much a change set of circumstances.
Yes, and the leisure isn't good at change.
It never has been. I think that would be one. I think that's one thing I would definitely agree. And
it's not changed in 10 years now. People think it works. It's only worked because of the circumstances.
I don't want to say much. I don't want to say much more in part 1, because I think turning those, how you get to those figures is the crucial thing, and I think how that's done is going to be the difficult thing for those people.
I agree.
And I think it's looking at, obviously, for the part 1, so looking at what actually does work and finding a balance between keeping that and bringing in new stuff to build on it.
Yeah, I think one of the strengths. I think one of the strengths I've seen in the information you've circulated is this idea of looking at on a particular day in a particular way in a particular thing, whether or not it does make money or not. You know, when we were there with our £550 hire, we got football in on a couple of days. There were other groups on a couple of days, and you look at it over a week and you go, yeah, that means we can open to that level. But if somebody's not there providing that 550 quid, you've got to drop back to a different level.
Yeah.
Not have a person on in the day. You've got to be dynamic.
Yeah.
You've got to be reactive to running it as a business on a cost basis, but also innovative in looking for that work that's going to allow you to open up more. I think people open up more and think it's going to come in, and then when it doesn't, we post a huge loss.
You've got to. It's not a 9 till 5 job. These type of jobs are not. Go to any of the bigger ones. You have to be there when you need to be there, and you have to. It's not 9 till 5, and unfortunately, the leisure works on a 9 till 5. I mean, I'm saying 9 till 5. It's a very glib, but it's as though somebody has to be there. They don't have to be there if there's no lets. If there's no lets, then you go home and you put your hours in when the lets are there. And you've got to be very, very adaptable, and maybe a little bit antisocial in your hours as well. Well, not a little bit, a lot antisocial, because it is an antisocial. The manager particularly, it's an antisocial hours job. You've only got to speak to anybody who is a manager. You'll find you're not there all the time in this kind of environment.
Anyway, we can cover some of that in part 2, perhaps in a little bit more detail. Everybody happy to note and accept the report?
Yes, yeah.
I think there's another item there, 5.2, which is just to note the safe use of council meetings, that the next meeting will have to be. We did manage to fit one in. If people forget, we did have a real meeting back in July or June. Was it June? Was it June? We had one last year. We had a June or an August one. We had a real proper live turn-up meeting. That I'm taking that all of them will be live in future. So this could be the last.
Less Zoom. Well, let's be realistic, Mike. The number of people that attend, then the leisure centre's certainly got a big enough room to accommodate that, because very rarely do you get a full meeting. So,
but I'm
being very cynical again.
I might find myself second Tuesday of the May, just wondering what on earth I'm going to do. I might have to come along and just to feel.
Just to feel included.
There'll be no beer on sale, will there?
Mike, they'll be asking you for a seat. They'll be asking you to stand or to be.
Well, we'll see, shall we?
No, don't be silly. We'll take bets, shall we? Not me, but you. There's the difference.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see. You know, I've always had I've always had a soft spot for representing the poor and the underprivileged. So it would be an honour to serve a ward with such a high social need. If there's no one better to step forward, and filling somebody like Councillor Vogue, who's also not standing shoes, and some of the other people that have represented that ward, where there are no people of independent mind or conservative or liberal or even Labour from the local branch. Are bothered. It seems to be that people that are most vulnerable deserve at least somebody to represent them.
They certainly do. Probably more.
So maybe. Who knows? Sure, sir. Right, okay. In that case, I shall declare, with that tantalising prospect of returning in an unelected capacity, I shall close part 1 of the meeting and ask Julian to turn off the feed. You can place your bets on who's the councillors for the Peel Hall